Welcome, everybody, to another special episode of the Hey Coach podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about goal setting. And the best person that I thought about to bring in is John Brubaker, or as everybody calls him, Coach Brew. He's a 12-year college lacrosse coach, ex-college lacrosse
Recovering.
Recovering. He is also an award-winning author, executive coach, speaker. He's the author of multiple books, one Beyond Stadium Status, and just recently he has put out a children's book, Rudy Kangaroo Moves Forward. John, thanks for coming on the Hey Coach podcast.
Hey Coach, how are you?
Good, thanks. I thought about you just because I said, goal setting, you must have had to do a lot of goal setting during your head coaching in lacrosse.
Sure.
For you and the team. But now that you moved on to executive coaching and speaking, you probably do a lot of that also now with them.
Yeah, I mean, I have goals for myself and then goals for my clients that I work with, whether it's an individual that I'm coaching or if I'm, doing consulting with a company. And I have to tell you, Eric, it hasn't changed that much since when I was coaching. I don't know that it's changed at all. It's just like I like to say we're all athletes. Our office just looks different, So if you're a corporate leader, there's so much you can take from how athletes set goals and how teams set their collective goals. And the fundamentals, the fundamentals are the fundamentals. I think goal setting is just part of it's like the blocking and tackling of any successful organization of any kind.
Exactly. Yeah. So now let's go back to your head
coach.
I
threw you a football reference.
Yeah, you did.
Tackling.
For a lacrosse guy.
I'm trying to speak your language, brother.
I'm impressed. So let's go back to I know it hurts a little, but let's go back to your coaching days.
Sure.
As a head coach, what was the first thing that you did goal setting? Did you I would assume you did the team, what you wanted to accomplish as a team, or did you do first what you accomplished for yourself?
Typically I wouldn't set goals in the non-traditional season. I would want to use that as a barometer or measuring stick of who we were, where we're at, how competitive we were going to be, how young are we, how fast are they learning? And then, going into the off season, obviously you have strength and conditioning goals. And, when you coach small college, you coach a minor sport, you're the head lacrosse coach. You're also the head strength coach. You're the director of athletic development and fundraising for your program. You're wearing all these different hats. So, and just out of necessity, I tried to keep it fairly simple for everybody. Are you getting better every day? How are you getting better every day? What is your plan to do that? And, there's what I thought someone was capable of, and there's what they thought. And it almost didn't matter to a certain extent what I thought, because they're the ones that need to have ownership over it. And a lot of times, they if you're recruiting the right kids, they have higher expectations of themselves than you have of them.
Right.
So, I would use that non-traditional and just kind of work my way into, as we got closer to the traditional season, what should the individual goals be, but also I got a clearer picture of what we could potentially be capable of. And, those all kind of come together at the same time. If you want to look at it individually first, the really interesting thing I found was, people say you ought to set SMART goals, and that's an acronym for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound, SMART.
Right.
I don't buy that for a second. Because I think when you do that, you're setting an artificial ceiling. What's realistic for you? Who am I to say what's realistic? And what one kid's idea of realistic is, might be a kid with low self-esteem, might be a kid with confidence issues who's capable way more than their quote realistic idea of what they think they could accomplish. So like I try and have people aim really high. I remember one year in 2001, I had these two offensive players. They're called attackmen in lacrosse. If it's like hockey, it'd be like a forward. So two attackmen. This one guy Tom and another guy John, and I had them come in and set individual goals. Like, here are your kind of like process goals, like in terms of like work ethic, like all the things you really have total control over. But then, like personally, like what kind of numbers do you think you're capable of putting up that you want to put up? And the one kid, they were both really of comparable talent. They had different skill sets, but comparable talent. And they're both seniors, so they're like very much along the same path, same journey, same position, similar talent, and in terms of scoring ability as well. And the one kid just said, I'd like to, I'd like to score, 20 points this year. And the other kid said, it's my senior year. I had to redshirt one year. I was injured another year. And so, like, my goal that I've always had to make what we call the Century Club, 100 career goals, is pretty far away. But I'm just going to put it down here anyway. And he probably needed like 38, somewhere like 38, 45 points, to hit that number and make the Century Club.
Right.
And we have these little 3x5 cards, these goal setting cards I gave him. And he just put that down there. And wouldn't you know, when you look at the end of the year at their production, what do you think happened? The kid that aimed low hit.
Right.
He hit his goal. He aimed low. But the kid that said, I want to make the Century Club, 100 points for my career, like, he didn't quite achieve that goal, but I'll be darned if he didn't have twice the production of his very comparable teammate, and they got, equal minutes. Our bench is so thin, those two kids never came out of the game. So, like, aim high, and even if you miss, you're still further ahead than if you hit your goal that you just set an artificially low ceiling to. Exactly. So I'll just never forget that. I think often that happens, or often, like, we set a ceiling on people, like, I try and, well, I'll stop rambling. I'll let you ask your next question or just get your thoughts on that before I was going to take it to, I had a corporate example of that we can dive into.
Yeah, no, we can definitely dive into that. I just wanted to say that I like that example because I also noticed when I was coaching that the direction of the goals, like those guys had individual goals for themselves.
Yep.
I found that I had to train some of these kids on what the goals are because, one of the kids told me his goal was to win the section. There's nothing he can do by himself to win the section.
Yep.
So I'm like, so how are you going to do that? And he was like, well, I said, no, what's your goal? What's your individual goal? We'll win the section when everybody hits their individual goals.
The wonderful thing about his answer, vague as it wasn't a personal goal, it was a team goal.
Yes.
That team goal mattered to him more than any individual goal, or he would have shared an individual goal, would be my sneaking suspicion.
Yes. But for him, like I said, like even as a coach, I remember I believe it was Coach Krzyzewski from Duke. He said that his goal at the beginning of every season wasn't to win the national championship.
Oh.
His goal was to do the best job at coaching the kids to their potential.
Yep.
That national championship will come if he did his job and each individual kid did their job.
Every day. Yep. Was today net loss or net gain? Like you
Exactly.
want to go 1-0 each day.
Right. Right. Like I don't think your goal when you were the head coach was to go to the national championship, but you came very close
Yep.
by not focusing on that. Because I think when you focus on that large, big picture, you lose the focus on what you really have to do.
And if that's your focus and that's your goal, and you come up short, your season was a failure.
Right.
When in reality, if you could have had a team that absolutely overperformed, overachieved, and just maximized their potential, but they came up a little short and they didn't quote win a national championship. Was that season really a failure? Was it?
Yeah.
No. But if you set that goal of championship or bust, it's a recipe for misery.
Exactly. Exactly. So now when you also when you were the head coach, did you sit down and set goals with the staff and then with the players? Like did they have to bring their goals to you also?
Yeah, we just have individual meetings, both with my assistants and my players. My captains. We'd have leadership goals. Like, how do what do you envision your leadership role being? How can we, make the most out of you being one of our captains? Usually you got one guy who's like the glue guy, who's got really good relationships with the team. Another guy, maybe a little bit more of a leader by example. Like you just try and mesh those together so that, they're not stepping on each other's toes. And, the sum of the parts with your leadership group is greater than the whole, two
Right.
plus two is five kind of phenomenon.
Right.
And then obviously, yeah, with assistants, do I have an assistant who, his goal is to become a head coach, and he's kind of on the fast track for that. And then, his goals should be, more breadth of experience. Have you been working with the offensive side of the ball predominantly most of your assistant coaching tenure? Well, let's move you over to defense. You need to be a little more well-rounded. Um, let's adjust your role so that like it's like just adding a tool to your toolbox every opportunity you can,
Right.
and those can be in the form of different professional goals for your staff too.
Exactly. Because I would assume that those staff members would want to be at one point a head coach themselves.
Yep.
And so it helps if you know that that's what they're looking at because then you can help them reach their goal.
Yeah, I was never somebody that, like, wanted someone to stay with the program forever. Like, if you have an opportunity to better yourself, absolutely, you should go, and I'll be the first one to try and support you and help you, take that next step. Um, I might warn you if that particular job at that particular institution might not be the greatest, but yeah, absolutely explore options.
Exactly. Okay, so now let's talk about an individual. Let's not go into business yet, but
Sure.
let's say an individual. This is the end. This is the end of one year, started of a new one. Someone who says, you know what, I want to start setting goals. I have no idea how I'm going to do this.
Yep.
What what are some tips that you can give someone as an individual to get an idea of what their goals are going to be for the next year?
Yeah. So you said it earlier, Eric. I thought it was really wise what you said. Like the kid that wanted to win sectionals, like you can't control that yourself. I think it's a great jumping off point with goals and make a list of the things you can control. You can control your attitude, you control your effort, you can control your process and how you prepare each day. You can control being academically eligible, being
Right.
healthy with going to the training room and getting treatment and eating right and hydrating, and like here are all the little things you can control. And when we stack those little things and they start turning into bigger wins, they're going to help get you where you want to be, in terms of your output.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think somebody who's just coming out of school could actually think of it the same way and try to figure out, okay, what what job do I really want? Because look, as you know, and everybody else knows, you go to college, you get a degree, the odds of you working exactly in what you want is very thin
Oh,
unless you set your mind to focusing on that.
absolutely.
I forgot what there was a ridiculous percentage of the amount of people who graduate with one degree and do something completely different
Well,
just
I
because the
graduated a
money's there.
degree in psychology which qualifies me to do nothing. You know, but yeah, the average college student changes their major 4 times. I think that's the latest research. So, like, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I think I read somewhere the is it 5 or 7 whys? Like keep on asking yourself, why do you want to do
Oh, I
whatever it
thought you said
is?
wives.
No.
Like that number's close. That might be a little high.
Yeah. No, I one's enough for me.
Yeah. I mean, like you just multiplying your problems at that point.
That's it. That's it.
I
But
could barely keep one wife happy.
that's it. So
So ask
I
the
find
friggin'
that
why 5 times. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, it's like you ask yourself, like, okay, somebody will go and come out of college. Oh, you know what? I'm looking for a job that makes $100,000. Okay, why do you want $100,000? Okay, yeah, because then this I can buy whatever. Okay, but why do you want? If you keep
Yeah.
on asking, you'll get to that root cause of like, what are you really? What's going to really make you happy?
Yep.
And I believe that too many times it's like guys come out of college and it's like, okay, we're going to offer you 60,000. Wow, $60,000. I'll take it. Do you really want to do that job?
Yeah, there's a lot of jumping at the first thing for fear of not having other opportunities, and there's also a lot of settling that I think takes place.
Right,
It's kind of scarcity mindset with people.
right. Do you have any idea, like any points that you would think of somebody coming out of college and trying to set a goal and pretty much has like no idea of like really the direction that they really want to go, but they want to move and do something?
My best advice is don't choose a career, don't choose a profession or occupation, choose a mentor.
Good.
Find someone, I mean, even if you're working for free or for peanuts, find someone who's further down that professional path. And I don't mean a specific career, someone you respect and admire who's had a lot of different experiences. One of the challenges and problems we have, Eric, and you know this as an athlete, is you go through life, literally as a student and an athlete, student athlete, from the time you're a kindergartner to the time you typically, if you go to college, you graduate college, like that's 17 years of education where you have a mentor in the form of a teacher.
Right.
You also probably have a guidance counselor at some point along there. If you're a student athlete, you've had that mentor in the form of your coach, who you spend 20 hours a week with typically, college and probably high school for that matter, if you're, a
Yeah.
competitive athlete in a successful program. And then all of a sudden you graduate, and what do you have? You don't have that teacher.
Yeah.
Don't have a guidance counselor. You don't have that coach. You are flying blind and you're flying solo. And I think like that is the worst possible time in your life to not have those resources at your disposal, which is why I say, early in your career, find a mentor. Choose the mentor over the money. And if you get the right mentor and you get the right guidance and you're willing to kind of take it on the chin financially early on, that money will follow at an exponentially greater rate down the road. And you'll have just a wonderful experience. You'll have the benefit of their knowledge, and they know where the landmines are, on that professional path, and they can help steer you in the right direction. That is absolutely my best advice for anyone coming out of high school, coming out of college. Find yourself a great mentor.
That's great. That's a great
It might not
idea.
even be somebody you know at all. That's the beauty of the internet. You can DM darn near anybody on Twitter. You can Google somebody, find their email address. There are plenty of celebrity entrepreneurs, business people, where if you just Google their name plus cell phone number, guess what's going to come up?
Yep.
You're going to have their mobile number a lot of times.
Yep.
And just don't be afraid to reach out. And that's a scary thing today. We both have kids. Um, and for those of you who don't have kids, you know what kids are. You probably know what kids are like, or you coach kids, other people's kids. Like, they've reached a point where they are so reliant on technology, they have a hard time having conversations with adults in person or picking up the phone. They have no trouble texting or emailing, but that's not how you get what you want.
Right.
You've got to have some face to face. You've got to be able to pick up the phone and be articulate and well spoken, and be willing to call 20 times if you keep getting an answering machine or no reply.
Yeah. It's great you said that because I went to my old high school about 2 months ago, and we dedic we all got together and put some money for a stained glass to be put into the school. So they had us all come in and they did the dedication, and so we sat together with the student body and the student council president, vice president on. We were just talking, and I told them that I said, the best advice I can give you, I said, is whatever you think you want to do, go on LinkedIn,
Yep.
find someone, offer to buy them coffee, and ask them questions because he'll probably say yes. If he says no, it didn't cost you anything.
Yep.
You go to the next person. I said, but you'll find out if that's the job you really want. Because I wanted to be a mechanical engineer, and I went to college for mechanical engineering. And when I started taking all these physics and calculus classes, I was like, oh, this is definitely not what I want to do. And I switched to economics. So that's a great point.
And I think that's the value too, Eric. What you just described is the value of an internship. It's not necessarily getting work experience in something you think you want to go do. It's getting work experience and figuring out, oh crap, I do not want to do that for the rest of my life. Get me the hell out of there. I want to do something else. You didn't waste time. You figured out what you didn't want to do, and you saved yourself a decade of pain and heartache and frustration and gray hair. And yeah, absolutely. There's so much value in figuring out what you don't want, whether it's a major or a career. And yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, so now let's go into business.
Yep.
Okay. Let's look at a CEO.
Sure.
Okay. You work with CEOs. What does goal setting look like at that level, at a CEO level?
For me, it's trying to help them more with soft skills. And I don't mean like giving a speech. What I really mean is like connecting with your people. You didn't get to the CEO's office by accident. Unless you inherited the business from daddy and you were born on third base and think you hit a triple. Like most people have ascended through the ranks and are competent and qualified. Unless you work in government and then they're moving you up to get you out of their department because they can't fire you.
Right.
But no, most people they know what they need to do to run their business, in terms of the nuts and bolts of their industry. But it's connecting with their people. At the end of the day, when you're a leader, you're in the people business, and you've got to come out from behind your desk. You can't hide in your office behind a spreadsheet and just look at the numbers. The people drive the numbers. So it's really, being approachable, walking your talk, getting out there and listening, learning everybody's role. One of the things I encourage leaders to do is just simply spend time in each department. One of my favorite CEOs, and is a guy named Gary Goldberg, and he runs a company in Rhode Island that if you've ever flown on a commercial flight, they have the pillows and blankets you can buy. They used to like let you use them and keep them in the overhead bin. Now they
Right.
sell them to you. Anyway, Gary runs this company called Clean Brands, and they make basically these pillows and blankets, for the airline industry, but also, for institutions, hotels, hospitals, and residential for homes. And it's called Microbe One technology, really tight knit fabric that dust mites can't get into. So you don't have to deal with bed bugs; they can't permeate this material. He's got a brilliant concept. He grew up in the textile industry, and he just has this wealth of like technical knowledge in his field. But, a lot of those people don't have great people skills. They have all this, technical information in their head. It's like wizardry what Gary does. He is so well grounded and keeps his finger on the pulse of his people. And it's a simple little thing. You know, every day he goes and gets out of the warehouse like a big garbage can on wheels, and he will go from one office to the next in every department and ask people for their garbage out of their waste paper basket in their office, one by one by one, until he touches, figuratively speaking,
Right.
every single employee who works for him. Hey, how you doing? What are you working on today? He'll ask him, and then he'll shut up, and he'll just listen. And they'll say, "Is there anything I can help you with right now?" And sometimes people are like, "No, we're good, got it under control." Other times people will have a legitimate concern and they'll ask him for help. And he just uses, this wheel in the garbage can, as hokey as it might sound, it is genius. He uses that as an entree into conversations with each of his people. So he knows how every single person is doing every day, and he puts himself in a position where he can help them win at whatever they're doing. And a funny thing happens when you do that. People trust you. People feel comfortable sharing with you.
Yep.
Everybody starts winning. Departments start talking to each other more. And so that's an example of what I try and do with leaders is just get them to spend some time with their people and be a little more strategic, be a little more authentic and vulnerable. And it's the little things that make a big difference. And it's things like that that build a stronger team. And team success comes down to trust, and it starts at the top. Now the funny thing is, you talk about leadership and leadership by example. If my friend Gary asked one of his employees to do something that was a little above and beyond the call of duty, might not necessarily have been in their job description. Maybe he needed them to stay late. Maybe he needed to come in the next day when they were supposed to be off. Or like the CEO, the guy that founded the company and signs the front of your paycheck, is the same guy that takes out the garbage every day.
Yes.
He takes your garbage from you, which sends a message there's no job too small or too dirty for the CEO to do. And when you see your leader willing to get his hands dirty, willing to help, and willing to do all those little jobs that, like, normally that'd be a custodian doing that at most companies.
Yep.
You're not going to say no to him. You're going to say, "Yeah, be happy to come in tomorrow, or I can stay late tonight if that's what you need. Let me help you."
Yes. Yeah.
It is such a subtle but brilliant example that he is setting, and
Yep.
it's skills and strategies like that I try and impart on other CEOs. Like, you've just got to get in touch with your people better.
Yeah. No, definitely. There was a story, and it's pretty pretty funny. It works out right now because Bob Iger is now back as the CEO of Disney.
Yeah.
And they said that when he was the CEO the first time and he would walk through the park, people would see him. If there was a piece of paper on the floor, he'd pick the piece of paper up
Yep.
and throw it in the garbage. And he didn't do that because he wanted people to see what he's doing. He just did it intentionally. He saw garbage, he picked it up, he threw it away.
Yep.
But all the other employees saw that saying, wait a minute, he's the CEO
Mm-hmm.
and he's picking up garbage. I have no right to say that's not my job,
Exactly.
because he could have just pointed and somebody would have picked it up for him. But he went out of his way, and he would go out of his way anytime he saw garbage was pick it up. And look, now company's a little in trouble. They bring him back because that's who they want to steer the ship.
Yeah, it's interesting. You're seeing companies lose their way when a great leader leaves or retires. There isn't a good succession plan in place. You see it with teams. A coach retires, a coach moves on to a bigger and better job. There wasn't a good leader available and ready to step up and ascend into that role, and they end up kind of calling the bullpen and bringing someone like him back. Starbucks brought Howard Schultz back not once but twice.
Yes.
It's just really interesting to see that.
Yeah, it definitely is. All right, so let's circle back. So now, since we've seen the CEO and stuff, let's talk about back to the individual. Let's go back to the thing. Let's wrap it up. Get a mentor. Number one, get somebody in there to steer you a little bit. Number two, find out why you really want to do whatever you're looking to do.
Absolutely.
And anything else that we can put in there?
I would say money is the worst reason to take a job in many, many cases. If money is what drives you, especially in the coaching profession, you might be looking at the wrong job for the wrong reasons. I will just say that. And a lot of times, if there is a place offering a ton of money, it's on like the really high end of the pay scale. It might be so dysfunctional they have to overpay to get someone competent in there. Like, you might be stepping into an absolute hornet's nest. But like, money is often the worst reason to take a job for a variety of reasons. I think you take a job because you feel like you can make a difference, you care, you're passionate. A lot of times, yeah. So one of my favorite examples was when the lacrosse coach at Duke, John Danowski, took the job after that Duke lacrosse scandal, many years ago. It wasn't for more money. It wasn't for a longer contract. They offered him a 1-year contract. He was a very successful coach at Hofstra University. He said, I went there because I really felt like I could be part of the healing process and help those kids. Same thing with the coach at Marshall University, the football coach, Jack Leland. I think was it Leland?
I think so. Yeah, the one that they made the movie out of.
Yeah, he was a Division III coach, and that program was in such disarray because they literally lost almost their entire roster. He felt called to go there because he wanted to be part of the healing process. And like, those are two great examples in the coaching profession of people taking the right job for the right reason. And they're both wildly successful in those roles. None of it had anything to do with money. And most people get into education or the coaching profession aren't driven by money. But
you actually used the word, and I think it encompasses this whole idea of goal setting is the passion.
Yep.
Find what you're passionate about, and then work from there. You're not passionate about the money.
Yeah.
The money looks good, but that's not where the passion is. I always use an example that my wife and I know this person who was a buyer for a major company, a fashion company, and she ended up leaving that and becoming a teacher. I think it was a grammar school teacher. She found no passion in the job that she was doing, which she was making tons of money.
Yep.
She wasn't fulfilled. And she left and became a teacher, and she never looked back. It was something that she loved to do. So that I think would be like probably number one is find something you're really passionate about.
And if you find that, you'll monetize it just fine.
Exactly. Exactly. John, thanks a lot for
Thank you.
coming in, giving us some tidbits. Um, I forgot to also tell everybody about your clothing line.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your clothing line.
It's called Chin Up Chest Out Apparel, and it's a clothing brand. We support mental health nonprofits with a percentage of sales from everything we do. Chin Up Chest Out is just kind of my personal slogan. Uh, your body language speaks volumes. If you keep your chin up, your chest out, you're going to move through the world with a better mindset, more confidence, and all we can really do is move forward. In everything we do, like no matter what life throws at you, if you take that move forward mindset, you're going to be fine because you can't control the past. All you can
Yep.
focus on is that next step and moving forward.
Awesome.
And yeah, it's chinupchestout.com. We do seasonal collections right now. At the time this will be airing, we'll be releasing our winter collection, and I'd encourage people to check that out. And then also, we're probably the only clothing brand that has its own radio station, Eric.
Oh, that's right.
Um,
That's right.
yeah, so it's Chin Up Chest Out. The acronym is KUKO. So we have KUKO Radio, KUKORadio.com. It's commercial free. Positive music. We call it music for your mindset. From 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. Then overnight we have acoustic sleep music to help you get to sleep. There's an app on the Apple and the Google Play app stores. It's free, and you can go there and check it out.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah,
Well,
that's what we do, and I'm just trying to live my message and focus on my mental health. I know people, right now, people have challenges. We all have our own different challenges, and if we could treat mental health like we treat physical health, you go get an annual physical every year. Why aren't we also getting an annual mental, so to speak?
right.
Like I think we all need. To just we're our own most important client, and like coaches are listening to this, and coaches, we all get so wrapped up in taking care of and monitoring and helping the performance of the people on our team. Sometimes there's self neglect that takes place, and you'll be of more use to your team, and you'll be setting a better example if you take care of your mental and physical health.
Awesome.
So
Awesome. I'll put
I'll
all
get
that
off
stuff.
my soapbox on that note, but it's something I'm
No.
passionate about, and I wish I would have figured out earlier in life.
Yeah. No. No. I'm glad you put that out there. I'm going to put all that on the show notes. And how can they actually get in touch with you if they need to?
Yeah, just go to chinupchestout.com. You can message me there, or coachbrew.com. That's my website. And yeah, I actually respond to my own emails. I answer my own phone. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, like I said, I'll put all that stuff on the website. Guys, I hope this helped everybody out there. If you want to get in touch with me, you can get me at coachrays.com. Hey, coachrays.com, I should say. And until next time, keep moving on. Take care.